Hi, I'm Cameron, and I don't just read comics, I love them, and welcome back to another episode of Cameron Reads Comics. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Batman by Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez. This run collects Batman issues number 125 through 157. For accessibility, in Batman continuity, this run takes place right after Joshua Williamson's brief run on Batman, and that is right after James Tynion's run on Batman. The series that it references are mostly Chip Zdarsky's Batman stuff previously. So before this, he wrote Batman the Night with Carmine Giandomenico. Characters from that you're going to see pop into this. Every time that a writer writes a series with a character, they usually reference their own work throughout their current work. It's just kind of a thing that happens. For this run, I would also say this is a love letter to Grant Morrison's run on Batman. The largest chapter of this entire run references that the main villain Failsafe and the character introduced, the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh in Batman Rest in Peace by Grant Morrison. Huge players in the majority of Chip Zdarsky's Batman run. The other things that happen currently are Gotham War, Catwoman writer Tini Howard. So there's a corresponding Batman Catwoman arc that happens. During this run, Absolute Power, the DC event happens, and then this spins out of also the DC All-In initiative, at least for the last arc of this series. Also, there's a story where Batman runs through the multiverse, and if you have different multiversal understandings of Batman in different media, you'll see them present here. Okay, so for the story arcs, the first arc is Failsafe. Batman seemingly commits a murder, and the only thing that can stop Batman from Batman is a robot called Failsafe. It's an artificial intelligence that he created. It's kind of the idea, like, can Batman outsmart himself? I'd say that the Failsafe arc references a major JLA arc, The Tower of Babel by Mark Waid. Mark Waid and Chip Zdarsky are buddies, and so you can see those influences on a run like this. The next arc is Batman of Gotham. Batman gets lost in another world and meets different versions of himself, and then he gets stranded in the multiverse. What does the modern Batman look like when he is in a city without a Batman? He starts from scratch and makes a name for himself there. It's pretty interesting. This introduces the Red Mask, who is a new character. He's a famous Batman villain from an alternate reality who turned out being someone different than their current self. So it's not only can Batman be inevitable, but what about Batman's supporting cast of characters? Like, who would they be without Batman? Would they still be around committing crimes? Zdarsky explores that. There's Batman, Catwoman, Gotham War, crossover with Tini Howard, who is currently writing the Catwoman series. In the aftermath of the wedding, or lack thereof, spoilers, and Batman's return to Gotham, he's faced with maybe his greatest enemy of all time, a broken heart. Catwoman and him largely go to war for the soul of Gotham. When Catwoman trains thieves, it eventually makes low-level crime eliminated. What's Batman supposed to do in that situation? So there's very much a social commentary on who Batman is fighting against. A big arc in this run is Joker Year One. It's a brief hiatus in this run where Chip Zdarsky with Carmine Giandomenico released a 6-issue weekly series. Obviously, it explores Joker's origin, trying to bridge a lot of the stuff that has happened and been said with the convoluted origin of the Joker. It also shows a concurrent origin with Batman the Night and how Joker and Batman's paths crossed before they had even met each other. Then there's the arc Dark Prisons. Batman needs to grapple with his own demons. He plays a chess game between himself and Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. Is Zur-En-Arrh even a villain? Do we know? Do you know who this Batman is? Kind of crazy. Then there's the Absolute Power tie-in where Batman and Catwoman fight Bizarro. Pretty crazy to get some intel, but like pretty crazy arc. Then the last arc, which was one of my absolute favorites, is Batman Dark City. Post Absolute Power is the DC All-In initiative. This arc's intent was to give everyone a brand new start. Riddler becomes a tech giant, and then you meet Commander Starr, who is a new hero, and Batman tries to see if there's room in Gotham for two heroes. This is like such a great arc. It was actually probably my second favorite, first favorite, ask me on any given day, arc for this series. It was actually really freaking good. A couple other things that happened in this run. Vandal Savage takes over Wayne Manor and he becomes the commissioner of the Gotham Police Department. Pretty crazy. Jim Gordon gets busted for murder. Crazy arc that happens. For the art on this run, the main artist is Jorge Jimenez. I think that he, being on Tynion's run and then coming to this run, it really shows an interesting example of like how different writers bring out different traits in an artist, and also like I believe different coloring styles, because I'd say Tynion's run was very bright, and I would not consider this run very bright. It's very dark, muted colors, and so I thought that comparison was really interesting. My favorite marketing tool and maybe one of my favorite things in the series is the opening arc of Batman 125, this issue. Also, Jorge Jimenez, huge props for the arc where Batman travels across the multiverse and meets different versions of himself. Jorge Jimenez adapted like every single art style within the Batman of different mediums. It was insane. I think he's an absolutely incredible artist, and I'd say he's one of the best in the industry currently working. It's such a treat to be able to have him on this book. I loved his work so much on this run that I got a remark. I got a piece of art from him, so I now have a Jorge Jimenez Batman, which is one of my prized possessions, so I love it. It's one of my favorite comics I own. Next up is Carmine Giandomenico, who specifically was on the Joker Year 1 arc. He collaborated with Chip Zdarsky in Batman the Night, so you see some of the crossover there. It's good to see like the consistency, He can take Bruce Wayne as a young boy, and then he can take Batman as a man. I thought that was really cool, really well done. I really like Giandomenico's art, and I'm glad that he's collaborating with Zdarsky. And lastly, the third artist on this book, I'd say largely maybe second to Jorge Jimenez, was Mike Hawthorne, who did he did the Absolute Power arc. He did just a lot of issues throughout the series. Most arcs that weren't done by Jimenez were done by Hawthorne. I think he did a really great job. I just would say it's really hard to follow up Jorge Jimenez, who is just an absolute powerhouse when it comes to this character. Hawthorne drew a lot of Batman and Selina together, which I thought was really cool. The biggest critique that everyone has for this run was that the failsafe arc went really long, and I would say that they're right. Literally, it tied into every other story. I think that it came out so strong and it was so successful that DC really wanted to like make that run a powerhouse run. The failsafe arc of like that robot and Batman interacting went from 2021 through 2023. It was just a lot, because I think DC decided to make failsafe one of the villains in Absolute Power. And so Zdarsky, I don't believe that Zdarsky could have done what he had originally planned, but that's just speculation. The first and last arcs are really what I wanted this entire run to be. But when I compare Zdarsky's Batman to his Daredevil was 35 issues, and it was a very long, drawn out story. And so maybe that was Zdarsky's intention, and I thought a lot of the Zur-En-Arrh stuff was really cool. I love that he's nodding to other creators' influences in how he sees Batman. So I thought that was really, really well done. But broadly, I would say that it felt like there's a lot of editorial interference on this book, and that's just my speculation, but I don't think it took away. I just think it kind of dragged out some stuff that didn't have to be. So for my rating for the Zdarsky run on Batman, I would give it a 7.3 out of 10. It was good, not absolutely great, but when it hit hard, and when it dragged on, it just kind of slowed everything down. But otherwise, I definitely think it's a run worth checking out, and I think any Batman fan should read it for the failsafe arc, and just how blockbuster, blood-pumping that freaking run was. And then the last arc, I think, is absolutely exceptional. When this run hit, it hit really hard. So I'm glad to see it. I'm glad we had Zdarsky on Batman. Like, I want more Zdarsky on more DC characters. So hopefully we have that in our future. My name's Cameron. I don't just read comics. I love them.